What in the world is a pink piece of insulation foam doing in a modeling setting? Well, it's really quite simple. And I am actually using 2 pieces of insulation foam because this is going to be the display base. So we want to take our model, and I'm going to orientate it. As we have some, these buildings are far from complete yet, but get them orientated on to how they're going to fit on the base. And then this part is actually pretty simple. Take a pencil, marker, it doesn't matter what, and we're going to make a mark around where it's going to lay out at. Like so. And we'll butt this back up against where it's going to fit onto the back of this. We're going to make our marks all the way around. Now we have our marking where it's going to actually sit on the base. Now the reason for the markings is I'm going to take this other piece of foam and I'm going to cut some pieces off that will come around and serve as a hill and a back area for the fencing and miscellaneous other things that will go into the completed diorama. And actually I think this is a little bit too wide for what I'm looking at doing. And this is the nice thing about using this insulation foam, because it's very easy and we're going to take about 1 inch off. This stuff is very easy to cut and form to what you're looking at doing. And a few runs with the X-Acto knife. And this will just pop right off. Now I'm not concerned with how rough this looks. As you can see, that looks pretty rough right there, because we'll be covering that up at a later time as we get a little closer to the completion. Unfortunately, that inch actually works out pretty good, because it looks like it's going to fit right here quite nicely. And we're going to cut this kind of to fit. Snap that right off. And then to hold this in place, we fall back on our hot glue and we run a strip right where that's going to sit. And then that'll mold, that hot glue will hold that nicely right into place right there. And obviously this is not going to go the length of this, but we don't really want it to go the full length anyway. So I fall back on the other piece, and I'm going to want want this one to go in a little bit further than an inch. So again, we fall back on the and we're going to mark this at about 1.5 inches. 1.5 there. Then we'll put another mark down here that's 1.5. And again, we'll make our cut with the X-Acto knife. There's that doggone other pencil mark. We run this right down. Like so. And again, we snap it off. And once again, we're not concerned with the roughness. Even though it is smooth on the other side, I will turn the smoothness over to this side. Now, I don't want this to go all the way to the end out here. So, we're just going to make a cut, something like this. Because I'm going to want this to look like a hillside or a berm when it's completed. And then once again, we take the hot glue. And I think I better make a mark where this is going to go so that the glue flows in right. And don't worry about the dents or anything that you're putting into the foam, because that's not going to matter anyway. It will get covered up, and you'll see why as time goes on. And then we take this, smear that glue around a little bit, push it into place. We hold this down for a few seconds. And then that part is good to go. Now the next part you're not going to see on video because I have to take this outside because the fumes that it puts out are pretty nasty smelling, because I use a soldering iron to melt this down and give it a rock form, and then I do the painting to give it the perspective that I'm looking for in the rock and grassy areas that I'm looking for. So I'll stop this video here for now, and it'll continue on in a little while. So after using the soldering iron and giving this some texture around the additions that I added to the corner, so that the building, when it sits in place, has something of a backdrop to go by, which will look a little like that. And this will change dramatically as the thing progresses in the direction that I'm going. Now I know that we did these markings, and like I said, we don't have to worry about the indentations, and this is why, because we're going to cover this up, most of it, with a fair amount of Elmer's glue, and this is just going to get spread around all over the base. Yes, we're going to put some up here. And you can get a little sloppy with it because at this point it doesn't really matter. And then we fall back on that good old reliable tool, your finger. We spread the glue out and get a nice coating. And as, like I said, it doesn't matter if you get a little bit off, because not everything in nature is perfect anyway, and that's kind of what you're doing. You're going to go for a look of a reasonable amount of realism, and I try not to get too cartoonish with this. I just don't like that look. But you do your own thing. Throw some up in there. You continue spreading this around. Now I do try to get quite a little bit up where the seam is at, where this is hot glued down to the main part of the base. Continue spreading this out. Give yourself a good coating all over. A little bit up in there too. And I just keep going around and around and around until I get a good, pretty smooth coating. And then the next step is a pretty simple one. That's the reason I have this blue cut board on here right now. Alrighty, we've got that down. And we turn it around like this and get some of that glue off my finger. Now, next up, I'm going to use some fine sand, like this. And this is available at really any hobby store, Hobby Lobby, Joann's Crafts and Fabrics, places like that. And then what I'll do is, I'm just going to take this and sprinkle it all over. Now, it doesn't matter what color sand you get. You can use purple, you can use blue, it doesn't matter. In this case, this happens to be brown. I think I got this because it was on sale. And you cover the whole thing. With the sand. Because you want it to absorb the glue. And the glue will obviously hold it to the base. And the reason for the blue cutting board underneath is because you want to get as close to the edge as possible, so you're going to have some spillover, and you're going to want to put that back in the jar for later use. I'm going to get more up here where I put that extra glue. Now, what I like to do after I get a pretty thick coating of the sand on here is just to make sure that it gets into the glue and holds it a little better. And this is why I got the glue off my fingers, is to go around and just tap it. Give it a tap and it'll push it down into the glue. There are other ways, I'm sure, that you could probably do this, but I kind of like this way. It's easier for me, and the end result comes out looking pretty good. And try to tap it down where that seam is at. Pretty good. So that it goes into place. And then after this is done, I'll set it off to this. Now you notice that I'm not shaking the sand off yet, because with that glue being as wet as it still is, shaking it off will sometimes cause the glue to go right along with it. You let it sit for a while until that glue sets up, and it's just Elmer's glue, and that's usually pretty cheap. And it doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be the Elmer's brand, it can be the off brand, as long as it's a white glue, because that dries clear. And I don't know if you can see this or not, but you can see some of the glue is showing through, which is what you want it to do. You don't want to keep it covered up real tight. But, and now we'll let this dry. And in the next video that I do on the base preparations, I'll show you the painting process that I go through. Hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching.